The Amazing Digital Circus Episode 4 is officially coming out on December 13th, which is less than 2 weeks away, and this Friday we finally got the trailer for the next episode, which revealed some interesting information about what we can expect in Spudsy's. But there were also plenty of hidden details that you might have missed, but don't worry, I'm here to tell you about everything. But first I would also like to mention that the wackywatch.com website has changed, and we can see an interactive site that resembles an actual website of a restaurant. And the first thing that caught my eye is this gummy burger that keeps spinning here, and I really hope that if Gummy Goo does return, he will order this burger, cause that would be amazing. But if you click on the menu, we can see some pretty interesting offers, like this Dobby dog, which we know is the name of the yellow dog that we saw in episode 1 on one of the doors. So this suggests that they honored his memory by naming a hot dog after him. Hopefully, that's all it is. But what's most interesting is that there is this application form that could foreshadow some of the things we'll see in the next episode. Maybe after the circus members arrive at Spudsy's, there will be a short training where Kane will tell them what they need to pay attention to. Like we can see here, work uncooperatively with other team members to ensure orders are constantly late and ignore health and safety standards. So my guess is that this adventure might be the most chaotic one we'll see. But moving on to the actual trailer, we can see the fast food restaurant that will serve as a place for the next adventure. And the design of this restaurant resembles the McDonald's restaurants back in the 90s before the design changed, and we can see that the other place next to Spudsy's is a tire service called Vroom Vroom Tires. And then we can see Jax being pushed out to the counter by a giant hand, the same scene that we saw in the teaser glitch posted in February. And it's pretty cool to see this scene with its actual lighting and all the other details that have been added since. We can see that the counter and the items on top of it have changed, and it looks like an actual drive-thru space. And if you look out the window, we can see that they also added details there, so we can actually see a parking lot in the new teaser. And on this monitor, there is this post-it note that we can see all over Spudsy's, and it looks like it has the POS login and password written on it. And then we can see Gangle turning on the grill, where they will have to prepare burgers, and based on what we could read on the Wacky Watch website, I'm pretty sure that the circus members are going to have problems. But next, here we can see Gangle and Ragata in the circus. I'm guessing that this is from the beginning of the episode. And it looks like Ragata is telling something to Gangle while she also throws a baseball up in the air. And it's interesting because it makes me think of the previous trailer where we could see this Colosseum that wasn't finished and Kane tried to cover it. But what if Ragata is talking about the next adventure being that one? And as we know, episode 5 is going to be Ragata's episode, so maybe they will play some games in the Colosseum. But here, Gangle still has her sad mask on, so based on the rest of the trailer, I'm thinking that this scene is going to be really early on in the episode. But next we can see Gangle and Jax in the kitchen of Spudsy's, and Jax's name tag says, "I don't care," which fits him perfectly. And as we could predict from this teaser image, Gangle really is the manager here. But what's more interesting is her mask. Instead of her usual comedy/tragedy mask, we can see a different one that seems cheerful, motivated, and positive. It has these little shapes on it, which I'm going to talk about a bit later, because there is a pretty interesting theory about Gangle's new mask, so stay with me. But the next shot is about Orbsman, and he looks really tall. And based on this teaser picture that Glitch shared before the trailer, Orbsman is likely going to be a customer, and maybe he's actually going to throw some change into the charity box that is usually on the counters. But what's interesting about this teaser picture is that the number 57 appeared here again. 57 seems to be a symbolic number. We first saw it in episode 1 on the blocks in the glowing hole. Then in episode 2, Kane tells Zubul that the adventure will be 57 times more immersive than the previous ones. And in episode 3, Martha Mildenhall tells Gangle and Ragata that her husband could turn a 57-second story into a Greek tragedy. And based on a quick Google search, in numerology, 57 signifies change, transformation, and spiritual growth, which is pretty interesting. But in this next scene, we can see Pomni behind the cashier and the mannequin who seems pretty impatient. And this makes me think maybe one of the mannequins will be Dr. Football, the mannequin that Pomni stumbled upon in the circus back in episode 1. But here we can also see the post-it note with the POS login, and I wonder if it will have any relevance to the plot. Next we can see a tired Jax in his little uniform, but what's more interesting are these flyers behind him. And we have another scene where these flyers appear, and we see one with Gangle's face on it, but this one looks like an extremely buff Ragata. And under that there's this picture which looks like a kid's drawing. And here Ragata also seems a little tired, so I'm guessing the fast food restaurant is really going to challenge the circus members. Or maybe it's possible that Ragata is not tired, because based on these scenes, it looks like she's bored or unmotivated, and even Gangle looks at her questioningly. But we have another interesting scene with Ragatha where she looks like she's in love, and based on the angle of this shot, it kinda looks like she's looking at Orbsman. I'm honestly really confused about what's going to happen here, but based on what Gooseworks said, that there won't be any romance in the show, it's possible that Ragatha is actually looking at a burger. But this scene is one of the most interesting ones, where we can see Kane next to this box of suggestions. And my guess is that Kane came up with this idea to collect inspiration for the adventures after Zubo's therapy session in the last episode, when they told Kane that nobody actually likes his adventures. But here we see the suggestion box torn down from the pillar, and Kane is acting pretty weird. It looks like he's zipping up his mouth, which usually means that he will keep something a secret, like maybe which suggestion came from who, I'm not sure. But here we can see the glowing queen, and she's going through the drive-thru with her little glowings, and I'm pretty sure that this out-of-context line from episode 4, which was shared by Gooseworks, where she wrote, "What kind of mother do you think I am?" is actually going to be said by the glowing queen. But it seems like she's not the only NPC that's gonna return in the next episode, because if you look here, it looks like Gummigoo will also be back, and that is why we see Pomni so surprised. But here we can also see Pomni smiling and waving at someone, and my guess is that we'll see this scene when Gummigoo leaves. And if this is true, this scene will compensate us for the tragic death of Gummigoo that happened in episode 2. And here we can see one of the most interesting scenes from the teaser, and it looks like Gangle is blinking, and when she opens her eyes, she sees herself in the mirror with her new mask. But what's surprising is that she's in Zubo's room, and this is gonna be the first time that we see Zubo's room, which does resemble them, just like Pomni's room with the colors and toys. But as for why Gangle is in Zubo's room, we cannot be sure. However, I saw a theory where someone said that maybe Zubo helped create this new mask for Gangle, and that is why she is in Zubo's room. And based on this scene, it looks like this is when Zubo asked Gangle whether she'd like to do something with her mask. And it's actually nice to see Gangle drawing again, but in episode 2 she had a pencil in her left hand, but now it's in her right hand. So maybe she's extra talented, and she can use both for drawing. But as for how Zubo created the new mask, it's pretty interesting. Remember how Gooseworks said that Zubo was a tattoo artist at one point back when they were a human? What if Zubo tattooed these shapes into Gangle's mask, hoping that they would make her happy? And based on how Gangle reacts to seeing herself for the first time with the new mask, I think that this could be possible. And the new mask really will change her, because as we saw in the teaser, she will live up to her manager role. And despite how we saw her in the previous episodes, she will figure out how to lead a group and use her confidence. And maybe the others will notice how Gangle changes even before the adventure starts. And this is why we can see them in the doorway here. And based on this small scene, we can also see that Pomni and Gangle will finally interact in this new episode. But honestly, this dark setting is kinda unsettling, and maybe their interaction will not be as wholesome as we hoped. And lastly, here in this scene, we can see Kinger inside of the circus. And based on this and the teaser picture from before, it seems like Kinger won't join the others on the adventure this time. And I wonder why. Maybe Kane would want to spend some time with him, just like how he did with Zubul in the previous episode. Or maybe this time Kinger didn't feel like going because of the events of episode 3, where he had to fight headless angels and come back from hell, so maybe he's a bit tired. But this is actually kinda refreshing, because we can also see that Zubul is going on the adventure for the first time, which will probably also stir things up a bit, because we don't really know how Zubul acts during an adventure. But let me know what you think about the new trailer down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.